Hey, welcome back to the Usable Marketing Podcast. I'm Ginger Zumeda, and today is Whiteboard Day. So I have been talking about persona, customer target, right? Step one, when you're doing the marketing canvas framework so that you can get a complete, good, comprehensive marketing strategy is always about your target persona. And I think the easiest way to really get clear about a target persona is to do, your customer target or your ideal target is to do a customer persona or an avatar or ideal customer profile or whatever it is that you want to call it. So I have been spending some time thinking about our ideal customer. And I whiteboarded it out a couple of days ago, and I thought, well, shoot, why don't I just walk you through it, right? So the reason I want to walk you through this is because I think one of the things that you see is that as you go through this, now I'm going to go through it in not a lot of time, hopefully less than 15 minutes is usually what I'm shooting for, but this took longer to do, right? So this probably took about an hour and a half to actually do, including typing into Google and just validating some things, okay? So first, let me show you where we started. I'm just going to walk you through the steps kind of as they happened so that when you're thinking about your target persona, you'll sort of know the process in detail. So hopefully it helps. So the first thing we did is we keyed in on who we thought the target was. And we think it is Melanie, and she's in a mid-sized business, right? So we think that for example, for the marketing canvas and the value ladder that we're building for the marketing canvas, we think Melanie, and we call it kind of like mid-size or medium-sized business. That just kind of helps us remember the alliterative effect, helps us remember who we're talking about. We'll actually do multiple personas, but this is one of them. Okay, so we started imagining, who is she? Starting very early at the beginning, we knew that she's at a medium-sized business, so we're like, who is she? Okay, she's the marketing lead. At a medium-sized business, that's not always the vice president of marketing, it's not always the director of marketing, or it can be anywhere from a manager to marketing lead, but she's the lead marketer at this size business. Her business, she's got a team of 3 people, so not a huge team, but she does have a team, which also indicates that they do marketing, right? There are actual marketing activities to do. Her size business is in the $5 to $8 million range in terms of revenues. And then we dreamed up, well, what type of business is she in? And we actually put her in the dog food business. So she's in a healthy dog food business that's relatively new. It's a youngish company. It's been around several years, but they're looking to grow. It's a national company, and they have started to get some customers in the B2B space, customers like Petco and PetSmart and stuff like that. They also have a storefront in LA, which is also their headquarters. I just made up that the online business name is healthypet.com. So what they're trying to do is actually take their product and create more of a direct-to-you, direct-to-consumer shipping business with their healthy pet food. Her salary is probably in the 100K range, and overall, we thought this company size is about 50 employees, right? So that's just kind of what we're looking when we start thinking about the ideal target right now. That's how we sort of defined Melanie. Melanie at a medium-sized business. Now, one of the things that I'm going to get back to this later because we started filling in more detail as we went through the other steps, right? Which is normal. The more you sort of work it, the more you're able to kind of fill in detail and make this person real, right? So all of this right now is somewhat made up, but it's also made up based on experience, right? So we know we've worked with a lot of folks in the marketing canvas. We do virtual sprints, we do in-person sprints, and then of course, you can also go download the free guide if you want to kind of self-help yourself through it. But we know that the businesses that it's really effective for are businesses that do some marketing, have the ability to do some marketing, but they're kind of looking to go to that next step. They might not have a real senior strategic marketer on their team, or they may that wasn't classically trained. Okay, so this is sort of made up based on what we already knew. Switching sides. So then what we wanted to know is, well, what are her goals and what are her motivations and frustrations, right? So her goals are really, since it's a small company, she's responsible for some revenue growth. They really want to grow this home delivery business. She also needs to support in-store promotions with their retail partners like the Petcos. She is responsible for public relations. She's responsible for event sponsorships, and they have a community giving program as well. And so what we started to realize when we looked at what a typical person in a medium-sized business, this is different from a very large or a very small business, is we're like, wow, she has a lot, even though she has a small team, she's responsible for a lot of things. She probably reports directly to the founder or president of this company. Her motivations are to spread the word of the healthy pet diet. She wants people to treat pets like part of their family, and so also to give them quality foods. She really personally wants to evangelize the brand, and they're also thinking of, right now they're in dog foods, and they're thinking of expanding into the cat food market as well, right? So what we see so far, just by using our imagination and getting super empathetic with what we imagine this customer to be, is a couple of things have started to kind of pop out that I'll show you, right? Like, for example, this, right? They want to grow home delivery. So that's an expansion strategy right here. This right here that they're looking to expand into the cat market. That's an expansion strategy as well. And of course, spreading the word and evangelizing the cat, evangelizing the brand, all start to get into areas of focus that, that we may see popping up later that we want to pay attention to. Now, the other thing we always try to do is, okay, well then, what's a quote that we might ascribe to Melanie, right? And here, what we said is, her quote that we gave her, okay, so again, we're using our imagination to create this persona. We go validate it in many ways after the fact. But we wanted her saying, I totally believe in the mission of this company to give pets their healthiest life possible, right? So what we started to see, and you'll see this when you do the marketing canvases, this is a beginning of a story, right? Like, she wants them to believe in the mission of the company and to give their pets the healthiest life possible. But what might her frustrations be, right? That's what she wants. It's not what she has, right? So her frustrations, and hopefully you can see this over here, is that in the company, their growth has stagnated, right? They've gotten to a certain level, but they're not able to go a little bit higher. She's frustrated that people buy the cheapest foods for their pets and don't actually pay attention to the quality the way they might pay attention to themselves, to the quality of their own food. She's frustrated that people don't understand the difference in how the difference in quality affects their pet's health. And she's also frustrated that their brand doesn't show up in search. Right? People just don't know it. People don't know it offhand, which means it needs more brand awareness. She's also in a cluttered market with mixed messages, and the complexity is increasing in her market, right? So now we're starting to give her a real life. All right. Next, it's funny, my neighbor just walked by, so I'm like, hi. Okay, so looking at this stuff, what we started to see is that we started to add a little bit more meat on the bone to her down here, right? So we actually noticed here, like, wow, she's responsible for a lot of stuff. So we were like, she wears 10 hats, right? She works all the time. The reality of this job and a marketing manager at this type of company and this company size is that she probably is also working weekends. Right, if she's doing event sponsorships and public relations and she's responsible for community giving, there is a very good chance that she is out at promotions or out at events on many weekends. So this is like kind of an all-encompassing job for her. She's also starting to know, actually I'll get to that one in a minute. Okay, now the next thing that we wanted to do is, this is a powerful part of the persona here, is thinking about, okay, well, what are the brands and influencers for her? And then where might we find her, right? So we started thinking, okay, well, if she's responsible for all of this stuff, right? And she's frustrated, she's got these motivations to spread the word, evangelize the brand, possibly expand into the cat market, and grow home delivery, which means that she's going to be getting into e-commerce, right? Then she's probably going to have to be learning a lot of new skills, right? So she might be hanging out at Digital Marketer, the Content Marketing Institute. There are specific trades and associations that we assume that she'll be at. There's conferences that she may be attending, some in her category, like pet foods or food conferences, and then some that are really more to bone up on her skills. So for example, a Social Media Examiner conference. She probably is following, we didn't fill this in detail yet, but very specific e-commerce, social, and PPC influencers. And so we would have another thing where we list all of those. I talked about this actually in yesterday's podcast. If you haven't listened to yesterday's podcast, that'd be really valuable addition for you for this one. Is like, how do you actually figure out where all your traffic is going to come from? That's what I talked about yesterday. She probably also has trainers as her brands and influencers. Like they're probably doing a lot of events with trainers. So like, who are the people she's interacting with? That's another channel right there. And then they also do a lot of stuff with shelters and rescues. So they're influencers and brands there. And so this stuff starts to kind of tell you what channels she might be able to be reached in, right? If we can pull out some of these things, specific trades and associations, conferences, etc., we can start to go look for where their presence is actually targetable. So when you start getting into LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, etc., there's probably a very good chance that a lot of these brands and influencers are in some of these channels, right? And we've got podcasts and etc. And then she's also got vets and vet schools would be a channel where she could probably reach her target market, events, associations, etc. Now, granted, we're not trying to do this for her. What we're trying to figure out is this is our persona for the marketing canvas, right? But when we start to have a really good idea of who she is, we start to understand what is her mindset, what are her problems, what is she doing. So then we were like, okay, if these are her goals, her motivations, her frustrations, she's trying to get all of that stuff done. She has a set of influencers here that are going to help her bone up her skills. What we started going is like, well, what is it that she's really trying to do? What has she indicated to us as we went through the exercise that her needs really are? This is huge important. Needs is step 2 on the marketing canvas. And her needs, as we started to see, are, well, if she's Melanie who wears 10 hats, right? Because it's a small team in a smallish company, prioritization is probably a huge need for her that she's thinking about on a day-to-day basis. Repeatability or automation, like how can she build templates and use them, like reinventing every day is probably super hard for her. So this idea of like building in processes for repeatability and automation, she is probably getting to the point where she is strapped for people and money, right? People and funding for her marketing. Because remember, they're in this 5 to 8 million range, but she's trying to cross that kind of $10 million ceiling because their growth has stagnated. She needs a really strong value proposition, right? They might need a different value proposition to get them to the next level. She needs focus. She's really looking for a more sophisticated approach, right? She needs a method to cross the chasm that has been in front of her that's between that 8 million and 10 million, right? And so she also wants marketing that is sustainable. Like this is something that we can continue to do. I don't want to reinvent my marketing every 6 months or every year, and neither should you, by the way. So she needs to up-level her skills, right? So this all starts to give us an idea of, what we're starting to notice about her is that possibly, because the size of her business, that her company is starting to grow beyond her skill set. What got her up to here is not necessarily what's going to take her there, right? She's got to learn new things about e-commerce and home delivery. She has to learn new things about expanding into new into new markets and evangelizing the brand, doing more PR stuff. So the last thing we asked ourselves is, so what skills for this type of profile or avatar is most important? So what we realized is for her to do the job that she needs to do to move to the next level, she needs to be really good at strategy. That's a core skill for her in her role. She needs to start getting really good at systems. That's a really core skill. She's going to have to up-level her digital marketing kind of capability set, either by bringing more people onto her team, right? You can, what is it? You can own, rent, or hire or something like that. But she can either bring people onto her own in-house team. She can hire an agency, or she can get some contractors, right? That's kind of the own, buy, rent model. And then because she has responsibility for revenue growth and kind of building out the home delivery model and how she's going to take that to market, she's going to have to get really good at sales. Okay, so went a little bit longer in this one, but here's what I want you to kind of notice. This took us a while to figure out. Oh, we did one last thing. We wanted to identify, there's these different profile, like kind of psychological profiles buyers can have. They can be pragmatists, they can be idealists, they can be visionaries, et cetera, et cetera. They're kind of these different personalities. Because of the company that she's trying to work on, that she really believes it, and a bunch of other things in terms of the size, we actually saw her as an idealist, meaning that she's very aspirational, but she wants, like, show me the plan so I can execute it, right? Like, she wants to understand, like, I want the blueprint of how I'm going to move forward. So knowing all of these things, here's why this is so important. I just showed you basically some of the major things to put on your persona. Who is she? Give her a name. In detail, give her a real life, like detail out what her real life is. Give her a quote. That always just helps crystallize things, so I recommend it. Then identify her goals, her motivations, her frustrations. Who are the brand and influencers that matter to her? What channels can she be reached in? What are her needs? Like, this is sit back and reflect time. Like, what does she really need? Like, what does she really need? Not what do you want her to need? What does she really need in order to move her agenda forward, right? And then what skills are going to be most important for her to have in order to move her agenda forward. Okay, so what we did is by doing this, we were able to get really clear on who the marketing canvas is for, right? So one of the things that we've been working on is I do the marketing canvas with really big companies over 1, 2, and 3 day sprints that cost a little bit more money, but is well worth the value because they get so much value from it. Then I do kind of virtual sprints with companies. But one of the things that we're starting to do, realizing that the marketing canvas framework is so powerful, is we wanted other folks like Melanie to be able to have access to it, right? So that's why we did it. It's like, if we build this guide, if we build these tools and these materials for folks to have, for our Melanie medium-sized business person to have, what we really want to make sure that we're doing is that we're building for Melanie, right? We need to make sure that what we're doing to support her includes up-leveling her in these areas. We need to make sure that what we're doing to support her is helping her think through strategy, systems, digital, and sales, right? That helps me understand the things that I need to wrap around learning the marketing canvas and the whole kind of marketing framework so we can best serve our customer. Because as I've told you sort of multiple times, when you super serve your customer, the money will come. When you build the marketing canvas, it's the first, my dog is going crazy because his ball is under the couch right now. So I will get that in a minute. Benito, chill. When you super serve your customer, magical things are going to start happening. So this is who we're shooting for. So by the way, if this is you, the marketing canvas is for you. All right. So listen, you can have the whole guide to the marketing canvas. What we did was step 1. Not hard to do, but just to require some imagination. And then what we did is we actually went on the internet and kind of started looking like how big is this? How big is the size of this market? She actually represents approximately 5% of all businesses in the U.S. That represents billions of dollars, even though it's only 5%. There's a lot of these businesses, and they spend money in marketing, so it's a good fit. So after you do this, what you want to do is a couple of things. One, anything that you can sort of prove out and validate, you want to go find that research. And 2, you want to start launching little tests into the market, that's later in the marketing canvas, to see if things start to connect. Okay, so that's it for today, Whiteboard Day, and I will see you next time.